You know what I find funny about this episode of God of High School? You have everyone saying that Jin is like a monster, too strong, etc. But you have individuals that are able to cut people with just their arm, like it's a sword. You have someone that is able to kind of like summon Divine Beast with his karate. And then you have someone that has Death 13 from JoJo, a stand power. And I'm just like, really? You have Jin that is literally an individual that has been shown just to mainly fight with his fist and legs. And yes, he's incredibly fast. Yes, he had a lot of wind pressure in the previous episode, but you're not going to tell me that that is where the line is, where you go across the line of what a monster and how strong he is when you have individuals literally showing out of this world stuff throughout this episode. But all jokes aside though, there was a lot of setup for the upcoming events of the story for a very long time, actually. And I think if you have been around a while, and you know how I am and what I'm into, then you're definitely gonna know I love mythology. I love stories, ancient history, etc. And there was definitely some things that happened throughout this episode that does hint at some mythological elements. For instance, the whole peach scene with Jin actually eating the peach. That entire sequence definitely I felt like was a reference to Sun Wukong, or Journey to the West, because if you know anything about, let's say, Chinese mythology, Sun Wukong, and peaches in that mythology, you'll know peaches are normally symbolized as immortality or long life, long-lasting life. That's usually what a peach represents. And seeing how Jin, our MC, grabbed a peach and then ate it, and then all of a sudden he blacked out, he coughed up blood, then mysteriously had insane power at the end of the episode, it makes me assume that we're going along with that mythological aspect of the Jade Emperor, the whole immortality with the peach, etc. It is definitely something that follows the Journey to the West, or, Sun Wukong's story, and I wonder if that's where this story is kind of going. I don't know 100% detail of Journey to the West and also, Jade Emperor, Sun Wukong, but I know enough, and I wonder if this story is kind of going to be following that direction, because honestly, that's kind of what Dragon Ball was based off of. Goku is technically supposed to be Sun Wukong from Dragon Ball, and I have heard that this series is definitely kind of like a Webtoon version of Dragon Ball. And so I wonder if this whole thing going on with this themes and hints at Sun Wukong, the peach, and all that is something that's actually going to happen, and this is really going to be what the story is kind of about. And so I'm actually looking forward to it because it's really exciting. I love mythology. I don't know everything about stuff with Sun Wukong and the Journey to the West, so I would like to find out more. I think it's very fascinating. I would like to research it more too because it's really cool. So yeah, that's a little part of this episode that really stood out to me. I know many might not care about that too much, but I don't know, I just felt like that was really cool. I really like that scene because it hints at maybe more elements behind the scenes of the story and maybe what this god of high school actually is. I wonder if it's something related to the Jade Emperor or something like that, maybe Nuwa, who really knows, but we'll find out. So, okay, let's back up. Let's talk about the episode. So, we have a lot of action within this episode, and we start off with Ma Mission, or Ma Mizine, or however you pronounce her name. All I could hear when I saw her on screen, though, was My Mission. That's all I heard when I heard everyone chanting her name. Ma Mission! Ma Mission! Ma Mission! And I'm like, I understand why people are saying My Mission, because it's just she's, wow. I'm kind of sad that she got knocked out. She got knocked out of the, the entire tournament. She's not going to probably be around for a bit, and it does make me a little bit shocked, honestly, because when you look at the, the opening song of the God of High School, all the characters that have been shown to be in fights and all that in the opening song have pretty much already been knocked out. Like the dude that, Han fought in this episode that used the bat and was reading a book. I was honestly a big fan of him. I haven't really talked about him much, but as soon as I saw him on screen in the previous episodes, I really liked his character. I loved his fighting style, loved his design, and seeing him kind of knocked out in this episode, it kind of saddens me a little bit, and that goes for all the characters, like My Mission and all that. I'm just I wonder if these characters are going to come back, or if they're done. They're done for good, never going to come back. And I want to actually ask, Webtoon readers, you guys that have read ahead, obviously, you're up to date with the series, do not spoil, but I'm asking, do these characters, okay, someone in the comments say it, do these characters, do they have any relative importance? Do they come back, or are they gone? And do I need to just stop caring about them? You know, could you let me know in the comments? I am very, very curious about that. But okay, so with the whole action sequence though, we get a little bit of display of, like, you know, the two female characters going at each other, and kind of seeing how our main female character, how strong she actually is, and how she could actually fight, and she is definitely incredibly strong. I mean, she lost her weapon, her sword, and was able to use her arm as literally a sword and cut from an extreme distance, which is pretty ridiculous, honestly, but she's incredibly powerful. I wonder exactly if she was given that, you know, the fruit, or that peach that, you know, Jin ate within this episode. I wonder if she would be able to survive it. I wonder if also Han would be able to survive it. I would assume so, because technically, looking at this story, those three characters are kind of like our main characters, so I would assume that they're probably going to follow alongside of Jin's journey throughout this story, just because of just how much focus they have gotten throughout these episodes. Which, speaking of focus, we do get some backstory to Han. Now, I already kind of knew what his backstory was, because remember what I talked about in my first impressions of the anime, is that they kind of rearranged things a little bit. They were supposed to actually give the backstories literally right at the start of the series, but they didn't. They went right into the tournament, which, as I said, was a good thing, because just rushing into backstories without really caring about the characters and seeing them, I felt would be very rushed and just wouldn't feel right, and kind of allowing us to flow with the series, slowly giving us backstory, allows us to appreciate the story and characters a lot more. So I do like how they handled it, but the point, though, is this episode gives a lot of clarification to what Han is fighting for, what type of person he is, etc. At first glance, when you look at Han as a character, he seems like a lazy individual. Like, he just has this expression of laziness. And he's not lazy, he gives off this atmosphere of that. And when you see him in this episode, it's very clear that he's, like, hardworking. He's hardworking, he does his job right, he doesn't let, you know, people bully him and get him upset. Like, if they try to throw their drinks at him, he lets it slide on by, and he keeps a wall up. Like, he's someone that doesn't let things get to him, the little things. He looks at what really matters, what counts. So he shows like a heart of gold. He has a heart of gold, and he's a brick wall. He's a literal wall, honestly, in terms of just morals and everything. He's a good guy. And you see a little bit of his backstory of what he's fighting for, and his friend is obviously hospitalized. He needs medicine, and it's very clear what the individual has. It's not downright stated, but I think anyone that knows anything about what potentially the dude has, it's most likely cancer, for whatever it may be. And now, it could be something else, but it definitely does look like that, and obviously he needs money to pay for his, treatment. And because of that, you have, him wanting to save up money. The reason why he's working these jobs, the reason why, his friend's sister's working all these jobs is to save up money to help him. And you would think a person in his situation would just want to give up because they're kind of like a burden on their family. That's a typical emotion people feel in that type of situation. But you see where this guy that's down and out, like he's sick, he's dying, obviously, if he doesn't get the proper treatment and money, he's not giving up on life. He's continuing moving forward. He's trying to stay strong for everyone around him and for himself. And it's honestly, you can admire that. It's honestly something you can really admire because it shows a really strong will, even though obviously he's relatively frail in terms of body. And seeing how the MC, or one of the MCs, Han, kind of drawed upon his, friend's strength that was obviously hospitalized. And he's like, I gotta do this. I can't fall. I gotta get him money and all that. It's beautiful. I really like that character interaction. It definitely makes me a big fan of him. I would say out of the three, main characters we have, I would say Han is probably my favorite. I mean, I do like Jin, but I really like Han just because of what he's fighting for, his goal in life and all that. It's just something I really do respect greatly. So yeah, I think that was a good way to kind of introduce his backstory, which also with his fighting style too, being karate and using Divine Beast, I'm going to assume that's also going to be a reference to Chinese mythology, for whatever reason. I'm assuming so, because when I think about Sun Wukong and what I saw within this episode and all that, I'm willing to bet most likely whatever Han was doing was also the equivalent to that as well. I could be wrong, but I'm assuming. I need to look into it more. I need to do some research on maybe the journey to the West and stuff. But okay, I think that, though, is pretty much about it. It's a good episode, honestly. We have, Jin get incredibly powerful at the end. He gets back into the tournament because he's able to knock someone down, but obviously you have an individual that has like a stand-like ability, which is a big question mark, honestly. Does that mean that all of our characters might get stands? I do wonder about that, because, I mean, obviously these commissioners are really strong, and we had a power level reading that was kind of in this episode that showed that it was off the charts. It was ridiculous, so it does make you wonder if, like, all of our characters might get something equivalent to what we saw from that commissioner in this episode, but we have yet to see it. So, yeah, overall, God of High School, Episode 3. Fantastic. Loved it from start to finish. Episode felt incredibly short, as always. It's the curse and the struggle of a good show, and it's just going to be something probably that's going to stick with us from this point onward to the end of the series, because it's just one of those type of series. It's really good and it's action-packed. And, you know, actually, before I wrap up this video, though, I do want to take a moment to say, when it comes to the action and the animation, it blows my mind. Like, it literally blows my mind. Like, I cannot believe how beautiful and good this series looks consistently. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I did not think that this series could actually hold that level of quality. Now, I'm not trying to put God of High School down. I'm not trying to undermine it. I'm just saying a lot of series cannot hold that consistent art and animation to that level. And just seeing how almost every frame was fantastic, I'm like, whoa, this is incredible. Like, this is definitely something that is going to definitely reach far out there and become very popular. I mean, I dare say this is definitely going to be a lot more popular in terms of anime than Tower of God was, just because of how beautiful the art and animation is. But I want to wrap it up, though. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.